for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or visiting. Honoring the land in this way acknowledges the story of the creation of this country in a way that has historically been missing. So we'll just take a minute to introduce ourselves. Unfortunately, we will not have time to have you introduce yourselves verbally, but I'm so glad to see that people are putting on in the chat the name, what grade you're teaching, where you're from, or what your job title is. But I will start off. There will be 4 of us doing these sessions for you for the next 4 days. Myself, my name is Yolana Seletsky. I am a math learning consultant with ERLC, Edmonton Regional Learning Consortium, which is part of the Alberta Consortium. I have been part of the consortium since 2006. Yeah, I know that's a long time. I bet there's some of you that might have just been still in little diapers by then, or maybe not even. No, you would have been born. Yes, you would have been born. But anyway, before that, I taught math in Greater St. Albert Catholic Schools. And I taught grades 7 to 9. And then in 2006, at the same time that I became part of the consortium, I became the math coordinator for Greater St. Albert Catholic Schools. And I was seconded to the consortium part-time. And so for the rest of my consulting career at Greater St. Albert Catholic Schools, I was a consultant, and for both the consortium and for Greater St. Albert. I have 3 grown children. They are all successful now. 2 of them are products of the last curriculum. One of them is a product of the curriculum before that. And I know I have my niece here, Larissa, and Larissa knows them. So I'm not going to tell you any stories about them, but I'm going to tell you that they all did well in math, but all for their own reasons, not for some of them not for reasons that I would like to brag about, because one of them is a memorizer and memorized everything, and the youngest is a person who absolutely understands the math, gets it, wants to know why things work, and they all did very, very well in math. I wish I would have had an opportunity to learn why things work. I know when I first became a consultant, and I was telling Carol this, when I was a consultant, I was quite worried about things, because I remember I had to teach and work with K to 9, and I was worried. I thought, oh, I don't know why we do some of the things. For example, when we're multiplying fractions, why do we invert and multiply? Just do it. And today, after all these years, I have become stronger in the understanding of math myself. Always learning. And just last year, I went to another workshop with some other consultants, and I was having these aha moments going, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know this? Anyway, I'm very happy to be here with you, and I hope that you will find the next 4 days beneficial for your school year. I know that we had people here in July say, oh, I'm so relieved now I can have a good summer, because I was so worried about this grade 4, 5, 6 curriculum and how I was going to do this. So I'm going to turn it over now to Jackie, and Jackie, take it away.
Thanks, Yolana.
And I will interrupt you after, because there's something else I wanted to say after you introduce yourself.
For sure. My name is Jackie Radkovic, and I'm coming from Treaty 6 territory up here in northern Alberta. I live in Cold Lake, Alberta, and I've been working for Learning Network for the last, let's say 20 years. And before that, I have the privilege of working with Lakeland Catholic at Assumption School up here in northern Alberta. And the same with me. I think Yolana mentioned, a lot of my learning is in math. came actually with my students when I taught them in junior high. A lot of my number sense came. I didn't come with that as a teacher. And going along, working with the students and figuring out ways to understand mathematics is where I probably figured out a lot of my number sense that I have today, because a lot of times when I'm working with teachers, you're like, well, where did you get all this number sense from? And no, I didn't come into it as a teacher. I learned it with my students as I was going along. So I'm going to really hope that today I'm going to be presenting today. And we're going to talk about a few things, but I just want everybody to know that for over the 4 days, this is mainly an overview. We're trying to give you snippets of support that we can give you, and also to understand that after these 4 days through ARPDC, there are so many supports that are going to be in place for you as teachers for grade 4, 5, and 6 that will be more specific, more targeted. And we just want to let you know after these 4 days, the support will be there for you. Go ahead, Yelena.
Also, we do have other people here from the consortia, so I would like them to just take a minute to introduce themselves also. So we'll start off with Madeline.
Morning, everyone. I'm Madeline Lemire, and I'm with the Francophone Consortium. And we have an awesome math team at the Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia, and I have the honor and the privilege of supporting the math team. So I am here just to give some support, to be in the background, let people in and out. And if we were live and in person, I'd even get their coffee. So I wish you all a great 4 days of learning. I know it's going to be fantastic. And I'm happy you did that, Yolanda, because I was thinking, oh, it'd be important to give Kathy a turn to say hello too. So I'll pass it over to you, Kathy.
It's been a long summer. I couldn't find unmute. Good morning, everyone. I live in the other end of the province in Claresholm, so between Calgary and Lethbridge. And Yolanda, just an FYI, the Emily that Jackie knows from Cold Lake is my daughter. And I'm heading up there tomorrow, and we'll be joining the rest of the week from Cold Lake. And I'm just here to, I agree with everything Madeline said. This is a really great math team, and I learn more and more every time. So that's why I'm here, to learn from these ladies as well. So enjoy your day.
Thank you, Kathy. And we do also have Betty Morris and Tammy Leslie. They will be doing the session for you on Wednesday, but they are also part of the math team. So they are not here today. We gave them a day off as they are working hard, and you will find out what they're working on Wednesday. And Betty is actually en route to Vernon this morning, and she was saying to me yesterday, I'm not even sure why I'm doing this, but she had offered to house sit for someone, and she says, I can't back out. And so, yeah, so the 4 of us will be doing your sessions for the next 4 days, but I thank you very much for joining us, Kathy and Madeline. Really appreciate it. And yes, I will say we have an amazing math team. Okay, so to start off this morning, what I would like you to do is to think about the new curriculum and teaching the math in the fall, because I'm sure if you've had a little bit of a chance to take a look at the math, it is very different. And what I'd like you to do is we're going to do a waterfall. And a waterfall is in the chat box, where you think of something, you put it in the chat, and then when I say go, you press enter, and then we'll see a waterfall of answers. So when you think of your teaching math in the fall, where would you place yourself? A 1 is like, bah! Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm so afraid of this. Okay, a 2 is I'm sweating it, but I think I'm really scared. A 3 is I am on the fence on this one. I'm not quite sure. A 4 is I'm on my way. I'm getting there. And a 5 is, hey, no problem. I got this one. So think of where you would put yourself. Put your number into the chat. And then when I say go, we will see everyone's waterfall. Go. I love it. Okay, well, we've got everyone here from a 1 to a 5, Jackie. Um, our goal is to get those of you who are at a 1, 2, or a 3 to a 4 or a 5 by the end of Thursday. And we don't want to leave any of you there that are at a 1, 2, or a 3. We want to make sure that you're moving along. And those of you who are at a 4 or a 5, we're hoping that you will help us out in the next 4 days. And if you've got something you would like to add in, please do, because it would be great.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, Yelena, for sure. Those people who are at a 4 and a 5, today is gonna be quite a bit of an overview that we're gonna be taking a look at, and those might be things that those people who have a 4 and a 5 can maybe help out in the chat with people who are maybe a 1, 2, and a 3, and help support them as we move along today.
Yes, thank you, Selena. I did want to mention that everything that we are providing for you today and for the next 4 days, you will receive today's session, all the slides from today's session. You will also receive at the end of today's session a link to all of the links that we will be showing you. So you don't have to keep saving links as we give them out. We did learn from our session in July that some people got quite confused. They just wanted to watch what was on the screen rather than keep going to the links that we were sending because they were missing out on what we were saying. So you will receive every single slide that we are showing you today, and you will also receive at about 9:45 today all of the links to every single thing that we share. And then you will also receive a recording of today's session if you would like. And so the 4 days, today we're going to talk about, it's just an overview, it's the background on the new curriculum, how to navigate the Learn Alberta website, and looking at the architecture and components of the math curriculum, how to read it, what are the cusps, what are the main terms, what's the vocabulary we need to know about the curriculum. Day 2, there's been a lot of talk about increasing numeracy, but these 4 sessions are about mathematics. So what is numeracy? What is mathematics? We'll just take a few minutes tomorrow morning, talk about the difference between numeracy and mathematics. We will talk about learning progressions. There's lots of talk out there about learning progressions. For example, there's math progressions, there's the curriculum outcome progressions, there's the numeracy progressions, and they're all different. What are they? Where do I find them? And how do I work with them? And the bulk of tomorrow's day will be Jackie going through the ARPDC resources that your math team across Alberta has put together for the math teachers. Some of you work for the larger boards. For example, Edmonton Catholic has put out stuff that they are sharing with the province. Calgary has put out things that they're sharing with the province. There are other boards that are sharing their resources with the province, and we will also include those with number 3. Day 3 is where we will have Tammy and Betty join us, and Tammy will be unpacking the student action verbs in the new curriculum and talking about how to use vocabulary in mathematics, how to bring that in, and also how we could increase our own vocabulary. I know from our July session, a lot of teachers were saying like, wow, like the work that has gone into this is amazing. So they were very happy to see that. And then Betty will be joining us. We'll talking about the order of operations in grade 4 to 6, so the algebra outcomes and how to teach those, and really getting a deeper understanding of those cusps in order of operations. And day 4, we're going to do a deeper dive into manipulatives. and we will talk about fractions. How to teach fractions in grade 4 to 6 using manipulatives, and also if we get to it, we will talk about teaching integers with manipulatives. Like the other thing we learned was we had plans, and sometimes plans don't always work out, but you need to know that your math team from across Alberta is putting on sessions starting next week on outcome-based topics, and for just grade specific also. So there's a lot of things that are coming up, and so we better get started with this today. So go ahead, Jackie. You're on mute.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Thanks for all that introduction for today. This is our agenda for today. Like I said, if we had people who are 4s and 5s, that they can help in the chat as we kind of go along. Some of this stuff will be repeated for you. You might be like, move aside, Jackie, I could have done that. But instead of doing that, I'd rather have you help maybe a little bit in the chat. That would be so great. And as we kind of go through everything today, please feel free to put questions into the chat. And Yolanda will answer those questions in the background, or she'll just pause and stop me if I can answer the question, and then we'll move forward. And some of your questions that you might have might be answered in day 2 and 3 and 4. So Yolanda might put that in the chat that's saying, you know, we're going to cover that on that day. So here we go. So I'm going to get started. I just wanted to show you the end in mind. What we're going to do is at the end, if you have a piece of paper, somewhere's around you, but we're going to do kind of a matchup, and these aren't matched up right now, but we're going to really understand what are organizing ideas, what are guiding questions, what's the learning outcome, knowledge, understandings, skills and procedures, competencies, and finally the numeracy progressions. And these are not matched up correctly. At the end, you're going to get a little test. No, I'm just kidding. But you will try to match the meaning with the organizing idea, because we need to be clear about these components of our curriculum as we move forward. So at the end, we're going to do a little bit of a matchup where you can match some of these ideas with the meanings. And this is what we're going to be covering a lot of today. So the first part we're going to do is navigating New Learn Alberta, the documents and the website. And before we get started, the Ministerial Order on Student Learning is a policy document for K-12 education that was signed on August 6, 2020. And what it does is it sets the vision for learning. Students will gain the knowledge and skills to form the foundations for successful and fulfilling lives, and make meaningful contributions to their communities in the world. And this ministerial order is one of the directions where the curriculum was based upon. It sets a foundation for learning and focus on the importance, you're going to notice, on literacy and numeracy as foundational for student learning. So we just don't teach numeracy or math within the math classroom. That can permeate all subject areas. And the same thing goes for literacy. As a math teacher, how am I putting those literacy progressions within my math classroom? And it outlines the outcomes for learning, including knowledge development, character development, and community engagement. The ministerial order was the foundational document that led to the development of the guiding framework. So with the guiding framework, what we have over here is some people might be aware of the guiding framework and has seen the guiding framework, and we will have these links if you'd like to take a look further. But the guiding framework provides transparent guidelines to help parents and educators understand the curriculum development in Alberta. So it establishes common design for curriculum in all subject areas, common structure of learning outcomes in all subjects and grades, and ensures clear and concise language. The guiding framework outlines overall guidelines, features, and considerations for developing curriculum that are common to all subject areas. And we're going to take a look at that structure that's similar across all of them. For example, research shows that when a child is coached to be able to write with clear grammar and logic, the skill of writing about that reinforces long-term memory and thinking. So the guiding framework is also a component that helped build the curriculum that we're going to take a look at today. Next, I'm not gonna read this out, but this is the implementation timeline for 2022 to 2024. In the fall of this year, we're working on grade 4 to 6. Last year was math K to 3, but you can see all the other subject areas and what will be implemented when. So I'll just give you a minute to take a look at that. So coming soon, the draft K to 6 science, French first language and literature, and French immersion language arts and literature curriculums will be released with classrooms piloting starting in September. The next component is you can find this teacher guide on New Learn Alberta, and I'm just going to click here for you to take a look at it. This teacher guide, what's nice about this teacher guide is there's a lot of information in here, but what's really nice about this teacher guide that you can access is there's everything from exploring New Learn Alberta. You can see if you forgot your password or you're requesting teacher access, how do I go about doing that? There's navigating the curriculum. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be going over with everybody today can actually be found on this teacher guide. And so it talks about favoriting resources, all those types of things, looking at boards, how to create boards, how to access boards on New Learn Alberta. But this is just a teacher guide on how to navigate the New Learn Alberta .ca, and it's really was helpful when I was starting to learn some of the ideas, and this link will be added to the links that we will send to you later on when we're done this section. The next component that some teachers have said, Jackie, I really like this. I just want to see some subject overviews. I want to see where kids are coming from, where they're going. This subject overview is also located on New Learn Alberta. And this is what it looks like. And it kind of gives you a snapshot of what are some main shifts that are happening in the curriculum, the spatial reasoning, fractions, number facts, operations, and it talks about current and then new. So new would be the curriculum that we're going to be implementing. And so you can see here, there's just a quick snapshot. If you were talking with your staff about what are some of the big ideas that are happening at each of the grade levels, this document summarizes this very quickly. I know some teachers were using some of this information as well to pass on to parents because it just kind of gave a quick overview of what those big ideas are at each of those grade levels. So that is also located in New Learn Alberta, and you're going to have a chance to go in there as I'm introducing some of those ideas. The next component, so we kind of went through the subject overview, the teacher guide, and now there's a bridging document. On New Learn Alberta, you can access a bridging document. Oops, sorry. You can access this bridging document, and what that bridging document does is it gives you the topic. Previous math curriculum in grade 5, what did they do? The new curriculum, grade 6, and then suggestions for supporting and bridging. So these are some ideas of some of the things that we can help students with the bridging and understanding of the new curriculum. So there's a bridging document on the New Learn Alberta site. So if you're making note, those would be the 3 kind of to take a look at. So I'm going to go next into New Learn Alberta. If you've done that already, you can access the New Learn Alberta by going curriculum.learnalberta.ca or just Google New Learn Alberta and it should be the first one that comes up for you. And I'm going to kind of go through 5 things. The first thing I'm going to talk about just quickly is if you've never logged in, how to log in, how to go about doing that. The second thing I'm going to talk about is looking at where do I find my grade level curriculum? How do I print it? The third thing we're going to look at is to go to some resources, and I'm just going to show you, I'm going to showcase maybe one resource, the math Gizmos. I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. And then finally, there's some just little tips and tricks on the learning outcome. There's little icons for us to be aware of on the site. So this is kind of choose your own adventures as we go along. If you want to go into New Learn Alberta, you can. If not, you can just follow along with me. So this is what the site looks like. And you
Sorry,
can...
Jackie, can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
As Jackie said, if you wanted to follow along, I will be putting all the links into the chat, or you can just sit back and just observe everything that Jackie is going to be mentioning, or you can play along. But remember that you will receive slides with all of the links. So for example, you'll receive this slide and it'll have a link on it that you can go to and do your own browsing.
Thank you, Yolanda. So the first place is when you get into New Learn Alberta, on the top right-hand corner, there's a login button that's located over here. And you can press login, and you're going to log into my account. So I'm already logged in, so it's going to let me come in there. When you're signing up, I find that it's easiest to, oh, it's going to send me a code. I just want to let people also know that sometimes with Learn Alberta, they'll send you a code in order to get in there. Just now I have to wait. Okay, give me a second. I just have to put my number in there. I just wanted to kind of do this from scratch just to show you that that may happen. So sometimes you get a verification code. Okay, and then you can see my name is in the top right-hand corner. I know that I am logged in. Sometimes you'll log in. So I'll just let you know from working with some teachers. Sometimes what happens is they log in and they see their name here, but then they can't access certain things. The reason that you want to log in is for two reasons. In order to explore the resources and in order to access the boards that are on the New Learn Alberta site. So when you log in, you'll access the boards and the resources. If you don't log in, you can still access the kindergarten to grade 6 curriculum and the provincial assessment hub and those types of components. But if you do not log in, and I know I'm logged in because when I click on resources, what's going to happen is you can see here that I don't have a little red lock that's located on these different types of resources. If I wasn't able, you can see here, there's a green little lock that's open. So that little lock, when it's open like this, that means that I'm properly logged in to the New Learn Alberta site. So sometimes your name might come up here, but that you haven't maybe verified your account. So your name would come up, and sometimes this is a red lock. And you might be confused about that, like what's happening. New Learn Alberta will send you a verification code that you have to verify your account before you go into it. Now, I just want to let everybody know that if you have any trouble with anything on the New Learn Alberta site, this little contact us button on the bottom right-hand corner, Alberta Ed is excellent when you can have a question about something, a question about curriculum, a question about logging in. They're very efficient in getting back to you within a couple of days. So if you're flustered a little bit, or you're not sure where to find something, or you can't log in properly, this contact us button is very, very, very helpful. And so this is going to be a place that you might want to be able to use. So I know I'm logged in because I have a nice little green button here that's not locked. If you have your name here and it's red, you probably need to verify your account. So that's how to log in. Yes.
Someone has just said, I get this message. The account you are signed into does not have access to this system. One of the things is you might have another account as a parent for a student, for a child of yours. So you need to make sure you're in the right account as a teacher. So make sure you're using the right email address, etc. And again, if you are having problems logging in, you would contact Alberta Education in the bottom right hand corner. And then there's someone else who just said, I'm new teacher, how do I sign up? You need to have your teacher certificate. So when you go in and at the top right hand corner where Jackie's name is, it'll say sign up. And you would have to sign up there, right, Jackie?
Yeah, correct. You have to have your teacher certificate number available for you to input in there. And like I said, sometimes if you get that message, the account you're signed in doesn't have access to the system, it might mean that they sent you a verification code and then you didn't go in there and then say verify, yeah, this is me, and you might have to go back to look at that, or they might need to resend that to you. But you need your certificate number, and you definitely want to be signing in with your school account, not a personal account. Okay, so that's just kind of how to log in. And, you know, definitely, like I said, if you have any troubles, click on the Contact Us button, and New Learn Alberta is awesome with getting back to you as quickly as possible for any of those problem-solving situations. So the next thing I'm going to go into is on the homepage, you have all these little tabs. And so the next one I'm going to go into is the Alberta Kindergarten to Grade 6 curriculum. So if you click on that, if you're following along with me, you're going to get to a page that looks like this. And this is where you can browse by subject areas. And we're going to go into the component, or of course, into the math. And so when we come into the mathematics one, we have all the different grade levels from kindergarten through to grade 6. And so what happens is if I want to take a look at grade 4, I can click on grade 4. And then what'll happen is I will have all of my curricular components that are in here. And I'm going to go over what an organizing idea is, guiding question, learning outcome. Right now, what I'm trying to do is just showing you how to go into here and how to find the different types of components. So the curriculum structure, or the architecture, I'm going to go over in the second half of today. But I just wanted to show you that's where you find your curriculum. Now, lots of people are, okay, Jackie, how do I print this off? So where you print this off is obviously there's this little print button in the top right-hand corner. And Yolanda, do you see where it says print options? Does that show up on the screen? Are you seeing that? Is anybody seeing what it says? Okay, thanks. I see some head nodding. Perfect. So what would you like to print? Curriculum, and then maybe subject introduction. Which components? Well, we want all of the organizing idea, guiding questions, and the cusps. And this is what I love about this. I know some of you, if you want to put in the chat, if you teach a split class. So if you teach a split class, let's say I teach grade 4 and 5. I can put 4 and 5, and I can generate a PDF. And then what'll happen is I can print off, I can have my PDF of my document that'll have my grade 4 and my grade 5 next to it. You can also do, Selena, yeah, you can pick grade 3 and you can pick grade 4, and it would put your two curriculums side by side with each other. So some teachers as well, when they're printing, they like this option of what grade level, because maybe I am just teaching grade 5, but I want to know where are they coming from for grade 4 and where are they going after grade 5? Because sometimes we isolate and we take a look at, you know, just our grade level, but we also need to kind of take a look at, okay, I'm teaching this in grade 5. What are they doing in 6? What are some big ideas that I need to make sure that I work with and I play along with? So that's the print option that's located in the top right-hand corner. You can also just see quickly here all the cusps, the learning outcomes, the guiding questions. Those are all also accessible over here. And so I'm just going to give you a hint. You guys are going to be able to go on a little scavenger hunt soon. So I'm going to stop talking after, and you're going to go on to New Learn Alberta. I'm going to give you 4 things to look for on the New Learn Alberta site. I'm just giving you a hint here. One of the things I'm going to get you to look at is it says learning outcome, and there's a little I here. I'm not going to click on it. I'll do that, save this, because this is the biggest one when I've been doing PD that teachers have said, wow, Jackie, that little I button, when I hover over my learning outcome, that thing gives me so much information that that was the best part that I liked about New Learn Alberta. But I'm saving that for you for when you go on your scavenger hunt, and then I'll show it to you at the end. The next component I wanted to do is explore resources. So on the left-hand side here, we have explore resources. And over here on explore resources, you can definitely pick your grade level on the side. So you can pick that. You don't need to pick that if you're looking for things. I always kind of pick up math because it gives me everything possible for resources. So I like using the filter of math. You can pick resource type. There's all different types of resource types that you're looking for on here. I tend to just not pick on that. I try to pick the pieces that I'm looking for. Am I a learner, a parent, or a teacher? Languages, am I looking for English or am I looking for French support? So this one is also very important to click on when I'm taking a look at the different resources. So this is where you find all the different types of resources on New Learn Alberta, but the search button is pretty user-friendly. So I'm going to pick one called Rock Art. And Rock Art, this is one of my favorite gizmos. So I'm going to pick Rock Art, and this one would be great for grades 4, grade 5, or grade 6. So in the chat, can you put a 1 if you're familiar with gizmos and a 2 if you're not familiar with gizmos? So I'm just going to stop for a second. Awesome. Okay. So there's a lot of people who are not familiar with gizmos. Gizmos are, I'm going to tell you, as a math consultant and working with teachers, the feedback from teachers have said, Jackie, wow, like what a great resource that I can access off New Learn Alberta. And the reason I wanted to put Rock Art in here, you can see here, it tells you the grade level, the subject. Now the audience, you want to make a note of this with the resources. With the gizmos, there's a learner link, and then there's a teacher link. Okay, the learner link, this is the one that you are going to give this link to students. The one over here that says teacher gizmo, what this one has is the answer key and the teacher resource guide, whereas the student gizmos do not have the answer key and does not have the teacher resource guide. Okay, so I'm just going to click into the gizmos. I'm just going to show you what a gizmo looks like. So what a gizmo looks like is a gizmo is an interactive piece of technology that students can use. So I'm going to go view resource. And as it's loading, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, when you look at this, you're going to be, okay, Jackie, what am I supposed to be doing with this? There's no instructions. How would I be able to use this when I take a look at it? So Melissa, you have a question. Would there be a reason for teacher guides to be locked even though the student one opens? Logged in with the reason the teacher one would be locked, it would be, the only reason it would be locked is if you haven't signed in properly with your sign in, because it shouldn't be locked for you right now. The ones that are not locked, so students can access those gizmos as long as they're in school. They can log in to those accounts. Those students cannot log into those gizmos at home. They can only log into them at school. If they were logged, I asked this question to Alberta Education, and they said that if students wanted to access the gizmos at home, they'd have to have, remember a long time ago, we used to have the username and password to put those ones in there. They'd have to have that in order to access it at home. So in the gizmos, I just wanted to show you, because sometimes it's hard to find. On the top right hand corner, there's a little piece here that says lesson information. And so in the lesson info that you take a look here, you have student exploration sheets. So these are sheets that you would print off. So if I'm going to click on the PDF, so this is a sheet that you would print off for the students, and the students would have this in front of them. There's always vocabulary that you can see here that is located on the sheet. Then you have some prior knowledge. So this one talks about the ruins of the village that have been found in northern New Mexico Canyon. And so after studying one painting for a while, you realize it is made up of different images. How many different images do you see? And so students do a rough sketch of these different types of images. Then there's a Gizmo warm-up. So with the warm-up, it says click on the dog so that it's selected. It should have a yellow glow. Click each transformation button. So I'm going to go just back here. And it says click on these guys. And I'm going to click here. And there's the yellow glow. And I'm going to click this one, let's say, and I'm going to reflect them. So there's going to be a reflection that I want to be able to reflect it. And then I can rotate it and then do those kind of different components. But the instructions are on here. Click each transformation button and drag the dog around. So I'm going to click here. So if I want to do a reflection, you can see that I can reflect here. It won't let me push it this way. I'm reflecting along the x-axis, okay? And then this one over here, if I'm going to rotate this one here, I can click on this one here, and then you can see how it's turning and rotating as I'm going around, and then instructions are over here. So the big thing is, as a teacher, you want to play around with this, print this off, play around with this yourself. And what I like about this is you can see here, there's an activity A. So they go from progressively easy to harder, okay? So if you're in a school that photocopying is kind of discouraged, I'm going to let you also know that when you go to lesson information, there is a Google Doc version. So you can see here, you can click on the Google Doc version. It'll say make a copy. And what'll happen is the students can input the information into a Google Doc. So it's just like the PDF if you were printing, and the students could input their information straight into this Google Doc. I'm going to tell you, this gets a little tricky. You almost need to have two computers. You need to have one computer where the students manipulate, or a little Chromebook where they manipulate the gizmo, and then one computer where maybe a pair of students could input the correct answer on there, because I know that you guys just watching, just me going back and forth between the gizmo and then inputting the answer, gizmo, inputting the answer. Do you see how that might get a little tough for students as they're trying to do that? So some teachers just say, I'm just printing it off. Other teachers have done this because they want to use less paper to do that. And yes, you can post the Google Doc to Google Classrooms. Yeah, absolutely. And so, and what it'll do, it'll prompt them to make a copy of it, and then you'll be able to work with it that way. So I just wanted to kind of showcase the power of these gizmos. You can see here as well, there's an activity a B, and this one has a C. So it progressively gets a little harder. So what I have some teachers who some students just do activity A. Some students finish activity A, fly through it, do B and C as they go through it. The other nice thing about the gizmos is, just so you know, it also comes in Microsoft Word. So if you wanted to make adjustments to it, because maybe it's too wordy, or you want to add some stuff that you want students to do, or you're making modifications for a student that you might have within your classroom, you can click on the MS Word one, and you can change and add any kind of questions as you kind of go through that. So that's just a quick kind of overview. I want to give you some time to look at New Learn Alberta yourself and explore this. There's a teacher guide that you can click on. There's a vocabulary sheet that's really excellent for students to be able to use. One teacher gets them to just cut out the vocabulary and paste them on cue cards, and she has them and with a ring, and then they have all the key ideas in there. Teachers really like this because all the stuff is a one-stop shop. Like, you print off the materials that you need, you can make modifications if it's too wordy. What's nice is if it's in Google Doc, you can get it to read from text to speech for those students who have difficulty reading some of the sheets that they're working from. But that's the new Learn Alberta, the Gizmos, which I really like a lot, and teachers have given me a lot of feedback that they really like it. Thanks, Yolanda. Yolanda has also put in their fantastic tool. I was happy to see Alberta brought this resource back to us, because we used to have it and then it went away for a little bit, and then they brought it back to us as well. And so those gizmos are there for you to be able to access. So
I'll add in, the reason that they went away was that Alberta Ed said teachers were not using it, and they said, well, it's such an expensive tool for us to keep buying. So once the contract ran out, they canceled it. Just so you know, if you do like something on Alberta Education or Alberta Learning, make sure that you do access it, and make sure that you tell your colleagues about it. Otherwise, here today and could be gone tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for adding that in there, Yolanda. And I just wanted to show you one other thing. Is you see this little heart? If you're just like, woohoo, I love that gizmo, like that one, those students really like that. You can click on this little heart, and what it'll do, it'll successfully add your resource to your favorites. So if there's a lot of resources here, so sometimes you just want to put them into your favorites and then you can organize them in there. But this little heart over here will put them into your favorites. And I like that one as well to kind of play around with. Okay. And so that's going to be a big piece that we are going to kind of play around with. Okay. And this is just lots of different resources that are going to be located in here. And I just wanted to kind of show you those ones in there. And so what I want you to do is, now what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to do a scavenger hunt. And so it's going to be your turn. I want you to jot down the answers on a piece of paper, and you can put it into the chat later. But what I want you to do right now is I just want you to explore the resource page. What is one math gizmo you can use at your grade level? So I really want you to go in there, maybe find a gizmo that you would like to start your week off with your students. And I would suggest, as you're going to do that with your students, the first way that you want to do it is use a teacher up in the on the front of the board, using the smart board, and then working with the students, showing them how to appropriately use it for a while before you kind of let them go off on their own. So it's definitely something that you want to do. The second thing I want you to do is find out what's the difference between the two views, the Alberta K-6 curriculum and a printable curriculum. The third one is I want you to find your math cusps for number. How many learning outcomes are in your grade level? And then finally, I want you to find that info icon, that little eye that I showed you that's on your learning outcome. Write down what happens when you click on that icon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody 10 minutes to be able to go in there and have a chance. And if we have some chance to share a math gizmo in a breakout room that you found that you'd like to share with somebody, you can. And I'll give you 10 minutes. I'll be quiet and I'll answer any questions in the chat while you're taking a look at the new Learn Alberta site. I'm just going to unmute for a second. If you haven't signed in with New Learn Alberta, you won't be able to access the resource page, but you will be able to access number 2, number 3, and number 4. Okay, that was a quick 10 minutes. And I do realize that everybody can take a look at a lot of these components that I'm showing you later on. And sometimes people go, I don't want to spend the time right now to do that. But sometimes muscle memory needs us to be able to go in there and to be able to just kind of search around there and take a look so that it's fresh in our mind when we take a look at some of these kind of ideas. And so what I wanted you to do is explore the Gizmos. I've been getting a lot of messages of people saying, I just can't get into the Gizmos. I'm still locked out on my account. And then as I kind of play around with it. And so again, use the contact us button on the bottom corner. You have to log in with your teacher certificate number. Sometimes when you put the teacher certificate number in, and then you think that you want to go into New Learn Alberta, once you put the certificate number in, you actually have to get out of it and go back into it. So it has to refresh it. So what happens is sometimes people put their certificate number and go, hey, why isn't this working for me? You have to get out of New Learn Alberta, go back into New Learn Alberta, and then kind of do that refresh. So when we take a look at the difference between the two views of the Alberta K-6 curriculum and the printable curriculum, when we kind of take a look at that, so we have over here, oops, sorry, let me go here. When you go into here, you have your printable curriculum here, but then you have this one down here that says printable curriculum. Well, the difference between the two of them is this, and you probably noticed it, is this printable curriculum just prints everything from kindergarten to grade 6. So if you want the whole thing from K to 6 printed off, you can go to the printable curriculum over here. If you want just specific to your grade level or your split classes, you would pick over here the mathematics part. And for French immersion teachers, I just want you to let you know on the top right-hand corner over here, it says English. And then obviously, if you want your curriculum in French, Francais, you click Francais. And then what happens is you can access those resources in there. Madeline, is there anything else you want to add about the French resources or how to access some of the stuff? I just showed teachers up here how to put it, but I think that's pretty straightforward if you want to add anything.
I think you've covered it pretty well, Jackie. The one thing I'll mention is that keep an eye on the arpdc.ca for French resources. We're working hard. We've got the toolkit available in French there. So those resources are there, and keep an eye open on the ARPDC website. There will be some provincial series offered in French for the grades 4 to 6 math as well.
Awesome. Thanks for adding that. And we're going to be going through the ARPDC website tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the resources and where to find some of the amazing resources. The other thing that we needed to take a look at was your cusps, how many learning outcomes are in your grade level. You were supposed to check that out, but I'm going to jump to the last one. And if I'm teaching, let's say grade 4, I'm going to click on here. Remember how many people checked out this little I button? And so when you take a look at this little I button in the chat, did you get a chance to click on it? If you did, put a Y in the chat or an N if you didn't get to it. Okay, perfect. So you got into there. What teachers really liked about this was especially this, it has your cusps. It has your competencies, your literacy progressions, your numeric, but this is the part that teachers were like, ooh, this button's awesome. And it was this part right here. It was the resources. So what it does is it puts all the resources on New Learn Alberta that they would suggest for you to teach that outcome. So these would be all the gizmos and all the jump math kind of components that you would use for this learning outcome. Students apply place value to decimal numbers. And so that is one that I wanted to save into the end. So if you didn't get a chance to do that, I want you just to kind of take a look at that, because that's the one that teachers were like, woo, Jackie, I love that one. I do like explore resources, they said, and they don't mind putting what they're looking for in the search, but they found that they could find very specific resources to the learning outcome by clicking on that little I. So just to go over that again, you click on here, the left-hand side, pick mathematics, and let's just pick grade 5. And that little I button only comes up, like if you click on the guiding question, it doesn't come up. It only comes up under the learning outcome. You click on it, and the big component here is the resources. Those would be the resources to use for that one. So yes, Liz, love it. That's the bomb. I agree. That's the one thing that teachers said was really, really awesome. So thank you for going through this little scavenger hunt. I just wanted to kind of go through some of the components of things that teachers were like, Jackie, these are the most useful pieces for me that I've been doing, and makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Selena, than spending time searching, because sometimes if you don't put in the keywords into the search, you don't get what you're looking for. So Again, this link will be the architecture and design. There's a video that Alberta Ed has done that's really great. That's going to go over what I'm going to go over. So I'm not going to play the video because I'm going to show you that in a minute. So we're going to unpack the mathematics curriculum now. What are all the different parts? What's a cusp? What's a learning outcome? What is an organizing idea? Those are the things that we're going to finish off today as we kind of go through. So the big thing is curriculum is the what to teach, not the how to teach. And the big thing for me, the work that I do with teachers is about relationships. I'm just going to give you a heads up. Some of those gizmos will be awesome for the first week of school. Start off with things, build that community of learners, talk about what it means to work together and how mistakes are learning opportunities and those relationship building tasks in the first week of school. And so just remember that as we kind of take a look at some of the components today. So there's 3 common features across all subject areas. Before, every curriculum had a different front matter, different way of the laying out the learning outcomes. But now the architecture and design provides a systematic and logical arrangement that is consistent for all core subjects. The structure of the learning outcomes, each learning outcome includes 1 or more concepts that are the focus for students' learning and assessment experiences. And finally, there's clear and concise language. This helps to give clear direction and accountability for teachers and helps enable parental oversight of their children's education. So these components here are all the same all the way through, okay? So these are the components that we're going to go over today before the end at 10 o'clock. We're going to talk about an organizing idea, guiding question, learning outcome, the cusps, which is an acronym for knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures, and then the literacy, numeracy, and competencies. So the first one we're going to start off with is the organizing idea. So the organizing idea, if you've taken a look or opened up your curriculum, before in the old curriculum, we had things called strands. And so there was number, patterns of relation, shape and space, and statistics and probability. So now the new is the organizing idea. But you can see familiarity between the two. Number is still there. Algebra and patterning used to belong to patterns and relations. Shape and space used to be geometry, coordinate geometry, measurement, and even time. And then finally, the statistics and probability, we now have the component of just statistics. So those big strands that we used to have in our previous grade 4, 5, 6 curriculum is still there with our overarching organizing ideas. But our organizing ideas, they are logical categories that communicate the goals of education within each section of the subject area. They may span some or all grade levels. So the big thing to understand is the body of knowledge that includes facts, symbols, rules, principles, and concepts that constitute that subject area. Organizing ideas help to begin with the end in mind. That's a big component. The second thing to consider is the skills, strategies, processes, steps, and systematic approaches that students use to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of the subject area. So these are just some things to consider for the organizing ideas. But all organizing ideas are not created equal. We don't have all these organizing ideas for all grade levels from K to 6. Number goes from K to 6. Algebra actually starts in grade 3 and goes to grade 6. Geometry all the way through K to 6. Coordinate geometry starts in grade 5 and continues into grade 6. Measurement and patterning, K to 6. Time only goes up to grade 4, not grade 5 and 6. And statistics actually starts in grade 1. So sometimes this is really important to notice that all grade levels, or if you're jumping a grade level from, K to 3 and you taught that curriculum and now you're into 4 to 6 and go, hey, where's this organizing idea? It's gone. It's because they're not all kind of created equally. So in these organizing ideas, the big component is this one shows you also the progressions. When you go into the organizing idea overview on the new Learn Alberta website, it'll also show you which organizing idea starts at which grade. Okay, so here's the organizing idea overview. Okay. So here's the overview that you can kind of take a look at. And you can take a look at each of the grade levels over here. And what happens is you can just click on the organizing idea overview, and then that'll be able to help you out with that part. So let me just see here. I can click here. Okay. So the next one we're going to take a look at is the guiding question. The guiding questions look like this. The guiding questions are there. The most important part is to informed by the organizing ideas. They call for higher order thinking, such as analysis, inference, evaluation, and prediction. So they include debatable questions to increase student interest and motivation, and ask about the nature of the relationships. And they're open-ended and engaging. So the guiding questions, some of the teachers that I've been working with in K-3, what they've been using is some of the guiding questions. They would put it up as a bulletin board and put authentic student work underneath that answered those guiding questions. The third component is the learning outcomes. So this is a big piece over here. They're framed by the guiding question and are supported by the context in the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedure. So you can see here that the learning outcomes, very similar to the outcomes in their previous curriculum, it describes what students are required to know, understand, and be able to do. The learning outcome must be assessed and reported. It includes one or more concepts that are the focus for the learning and assessment. So the learning outcomes are the components that are going on the report card that are the ones that are going to be assessed. Okay. Now, the relationship of the organizing idea to the guiding question and the learning outcome. So if you take a look here, you can see the relationship between the three features identified in bold. You can see specifically how the concepts and big idea of quantity and number in the organizing ideas are now brought into the grade level focus in the learning outcome, where the students will be assessed the degree to which they can interpret and explain quantities to 100. So like this one, or this one over here, we're working with the fractions. And so these ones here, the quantity, numbers, fractions, characterize, equivalence, interpretation of fractions, those all blend in together to get a better understanding of how we are going to assess students. Learning outcomes are always supported by cusps. So knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedure. So here's knowledge. This is what knowledge means. This one includes facts and builds towards understanding of skills and procedures. It needs to be applied in order to be maintained and is foundational for all learning. Then there's understanding. Understanding is about putting pieces of knowledge into a logical and meaningful order to support students in understanding the concepts. So this is more complex than knowledge. It's really, understanding to me is really important because it's really culminating the big idea. Like what is it that students need to know? What do they need to transfer their learning into new contexts and situations? And finally, skills and procedures. This one's probably very similar to what you're familiar with in the previous curriculum. This is where the verbs come into, what students do to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding, specific tools, strategies, and methods that students develop to achieve this outcome. So the skills and procedures is the one, we can't just pick skills and procedures. We need understanding, we need knowledge, we need all of this together to be able to assess kids for their learning outcome. So here's some more examples of where equivalent fraction permeates through the knowledge, the understanding, and the skills and procedures. And so you can see here, what's really important is the bolded text indicates the connected concepts or big ideas that begin in the organizing idea and continue through the aspects of the architecture and design. So you can kind of see that as you kind of look at this chart that's been bolded and highlighted. The cusps give teachers content to assess and report on the learning outcome. That's what they're there for. So it's just a snapshot of the entire cusp that is being used to show the relationship between the knowledge, understanding, and the skills and procedures. So we're coming close to the end, but I wanted to show you that there's certain language that's within our curriculum. So whenever you see the word including, so the word including is a list following including or includes contains required content. It's not a choice. You have to include that. Students must know all the elements of the list in order to achieve the learning outcome. When you see the word such as in your curriculum, that provides a list of illustrative kind of examples that support the learning outcome. Teachers may use any of these examples, or they may choose others. So right angles can be identified using variant reference, such as the corner of a piece of paper, the angle between the hands on the analog clock at 3, and the capital letter L. Content in parentheses. Words in parentheses are subject-specific terms for teachers and parents. These words follow the associated age-appropriate terms for students. So a shape can change orientation or position through slides, turns, or flips. I know it says that this is for teachers and parents, but I'm a big believer of using strong academic language with students. And I think it's really important to use slides and translations, turns and rotations, flips and reflections. So I know that they say that in here, but I'm a really big believer that even as early as kindergarten, we should not be afraid to say things like quadrilateral or rhombus. When we use strong academic language throughout a school, problem solving and explanations become even better. So the last one, literacy, numeracy, and competencies, okay? And yes, Selena and Ron, thanks for agreeing. I think it's important, especially when they see similar words on provincial achievement tests. Absolutely. We have to use that language, and that's where those literacy progressions come in. That's why we need to make sure that we're playing around with those ideas. So finally, you have 3 things, competencies. I feel like where you find the competencies, you can go on to New Learn Alberta, and you have these competency progressions. So you have kindergarten, division 1, and then finally division 2. That's where you guys are for grade 4 to 6. You can see here that these are the different competencies: critical thinking, problem solving, research and managing information, creativity and innovation, communication. So these are appropriately at ages 9 to 11. This is what students can do at that level. Excuse me. I find that the competencies for me, remember we had processes in the previous curriculum that you guys were teaching and playing around with those ideas. We had those competencies, and those competencies, I think the competencies that we have now are very similar to our processes, okay? And those processes are really important. We still need kids to communicate and collaborate and citizenship and personal growth and well-being. This is a big one that I've worked with a lot of teachers. You know, how do we help students be more confident in mathematics? And so these competencies are here, but these competencies and the math progressions and literacy progressions are also under that little I button. Remember when you went into your curriculum and you picked mathematics, and let's pick grade 6 this time, and you go to that little I button. What's also awesome is for students investigate magnitude with positive and negative numbers. These are the progressions that fit. These 4 fit beautifully with that learner outcome. So those are located as well, organized nicely underneath that learning outcome. So those are the competencies. They're specific to the ages that students are at when we're looking at them. The second one is the numeracy progressions. the numeracy progressions, Alberta education defines numeracy as the following. Numeracy involves acquiring and applying the mathematical knowledge and skills needed to engage with quantitative and spatial information in a variety of situations. So numeracy is embedded in learning experience. So tomorrow, Yolanda is going to talk about the difference between numeracy and math. But the numeracy progressions is awareness, quantitative information, spatial information, interpret, represent, and communicate, strategies, methods, or tools. So teachers who are teaching science and English, ELAL, we want these numeracy progressions also embedded into other subject areas, including math. And finally, and then after the numeracy progressions, we have the literacy progressions that are also a component that is within that little icon that you can find for your learner outcome. Yeah, thanks, Carol. Integration is so important. I'm not going to lie. When I first started teaching math and I taught phys ed, I was like, oh, this is a math class. Don't worry how you spell things. Don't worry about the vocabulary. I simplified language. And then I realized I didn't do people a service by doing that. And so I'm so glad that the numeracy and literacy progressions are embedded into the architecture. So finally, we talked about this matchup. This is coming to the end about where these are. So I just want you to take a minute, put organizing idea. Which one of those meanings would be organizing idea? Which one of them matches organizing idea? Guiding question. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or H. Which one matches that? So I'm going to give everybody about kind of 3 minutes to match these up on a piece of paper if you have one in front of you, just to kind of summarize some of the big ideas that we played around with today. So I'll give you 3 minutes to match up the organizing idea with the letter.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that for those of you that are teaching the new language arts and math curriculum on the website, and I can put the link on here, it has sample year plans for each of them if you're teaching 2 terms or 3 terms, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so I printed those off. So it was a big help for me. And I'm just going to put the link here for you guys to use. I really liked it, and it's a base start for you if you're just doing it.
Yeah, awesome, Caitlin. That's going to be tomorrow. In the second half of tomorrow, I'm going to go through all of those resources that you just put in the chat over here. And I'm going to be going through those in more specifics, the intent of them, where they started, and we're going to be going through that tomorrow. That's another piece that teachers were like, wow, that's really helpful. So thanks, Caitlin. People can look forward to that tomorrow as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So the big components for today, these are the correct answers for the organizing idea. It's a statement of learning within a given section. The guiding questions are informed by the organizing idea and frame the learning outcome. The learning outcome describes what students are required to know, understand, and be able to do. That's where the cusps fall underneath. Knowledge, it does include facts and builds towards understanding of the skills and procedures. Understanding is putting pieces of knowledge into a logical and meaningful order. This is that transference of knowledge. If I really understand, I can take this situation and apply it to a new situation. Skills and procedures, that's the one we're familiar with from the old curriculum, what students do to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. And I really look forward on day 3 when Tammy talks about the verbs and unpacking the verbs under skills and procedures. You don't want to miss that. It's an excellent, excellent resource that's been created. Competencies, this is kind of replaces those processes that we had in grade 4 to 6. And this is developing the overall student, how to be successful in math, not just apply math to situations. And finally, numeracy progressions, acquiring and applying the mathematical knowledge and skills needed to engage with quantitative and spatial information. Those are kind of the definitions of today. I gave you some time to play around. We didn't get time to get into a breakout room, but that's okay. Some people were sharing. If there's a resource that you found or something that you found really interesting looking on the new Learn Alberta site, throw that in the chat right now for other teachers to kind of explore and take a look at. Yulana put all the links are located just above there. That all the links that I went through today, instead of me putting a bunch of them into the chat, they're all organized into that Google Doc that's above there. So you'll be able to have that. You'll also get emailed. Yeah, you'll get an email of the recording today. And yes, Leanne, you'll also get an email to the link of the slides. No, not just in the chat. It's just there for people who want to kind of take a look at it right now. So that's a good question. So with that, what I'd like to do is a reminder tomorrow, what is numeracy and mathematics, learning progressions, and Yulana's gonna do the first two, and then I get to delve into those awesome ARPD resources that Caitlin talked about that she said was so helpful for her. Yep, there's year plans on there. There are places for us to see what's the difference between the old and the new curriculum. There are so many great things. So we look forward to having you guys and ladies here tomorrow. And we're really excited to have you come back as we go through. So thank you, everybody, for your time today. And we'll see you tomorrow.